Nemo Radio is on the air.
A, B, C. A, always B, B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Hey, it's John Nemo. Welcome back to another episode of Nemo Radio. I just had a fascinating sales call with someone, and it revealed to me just so many lessons. I knew I wanted to share this on a podcast, and it really comes down to understanding the real nuances of lead generation, not to mention kind of the sales lessons it left me as well. But I think for our purposes, I want to start here with really understanding kind of the real strategy behind quality leads versus quantity of leads. What was so interesting was, I guess, to explain the story, the situation was this person came to me looking to get more leads, right? Generate more leads. And I said, okay, we went through the whole process. And long story short, they were already spending, I think it was between $5,000 and $7,000 a month on like 6 or 7 different lead generation sources. So it was everything from, this portal and this list of names and this vendor over here and this group over here and this over there and this over there. And what was so interesting was what it boiled down to was the reason they were talking to me, right? Because if you were already spending $5,000 to $7,000 a month on leads, if those different lead sources were working good, there'd be no reason you'd be reaching out to me, right? For done for you LinkedIn lead generation. And basically what happened was the person said, yeah, my pain point or, my situation is the lead quality is terrible, right? So, in one instance, a company gave him a lead that he'd already seen a year ago. They just regurgitated and recycled old leads and thought they could pass it by him. He's like, I already talked to the person a year ago. That's the same lead you quote unquote sold me a year ago. Or other leads, he would have to do all the outreach, right? And then when he would get a hold of these people, because the lead company would give him names and phone numbers and emails, they would be like, who are you? What do you want? Why would you think I'm even interested in this service? And the person would have to say, hey, you filled out a form somewhere online that said you're interested in this service. That's why I'm calling you. And they'd be like, oh, what? I don't even remember doing that. Or they'd be like, yeah, 17 people have already called me about this. Go away. I don't want to talk to you. And so what was really interesting and what I told this person was, it really validated the approach that I've been taking. So I was like, awesome. What's very ironic about this is this person did not hire me. So spoiler alert, I didn't get anything out of this call other than some great validation and some great lessons. And I'll get into why the person didn't sign up with me later. But the key lesson, the key thing that came out of this call very clearly for me was, wow, how important it is to have context for these conversations. Meaning, if you randomly are buying lists of names of people and there's no context and there's no connection involved, it's going to be very hard for you to turn them into paying clients. The reason being, think about you and me. If I fill out a form online, then all of a sudden I'm getting inundated with offers and requests and, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, like, or trust any of those vendors. I have no personal connection with them. I don't have any context for why I'd even want to talk to them other than maybe I have this transactional need for a certain service or I have initial interest in a topic. But again, I'm going to have my guard up because the cave person part of my brain, the psychological part of how humans are wired is we're wired to have our defenses up. I don't know you. Are you out to get me? Are you going to try to take my money or, I don't know or like or trust you. And so the approach that I take with LinkedIn and that we do with our clients is really the complete opposite. What we do with LinkedIn lead generation, and I think what really appealed to this person is we reach out to people, yes, at scale. We reach out to 200 to 300 people a day on LinkedIn, but we do it one-on-one. And we basically say, are you even interested in this topic? Are you interested in this free tips on whatever the service might be that our client is selling. And what I like to do is first gauge interest. So if the person says, yeah, I've always been curious about, XYZ, then I will have a piece of personalized content to give them. Meaning, and this is what's been working best on LinkedIn right now, is a 2,000 to 3,000 word ebook where I really place my client as the center of the story, the hero of the story, as this trusted guide. And the idea is when I do the one-on-one done for you LinkedIn lead generation with clients, you get to work with me personally. The way I have the business, the agency set up right now is you actually work with me, right, one-on-one. And what I do is I interview the client in depth. I talk to you, on Zoom and everything. I research your story, your background, get a bunch of, photos of you, authentic photos, and then I ghostwrite an ebook of 2,000 to 3,000 words. And basically it does two things. One is it tells your story, your journey, and it helps you to demonstrate expertise and educate people about this topic, right? So whatever your business is, if it's coaching, consulting, finance, whatever it is, we're going to create some sort of ebook that educates people about this topic, but then also explains who you are and what you've done and why you're so passionate about this topic and how you've helped other people, just like the person reading this, benefit from this, topic and these tips. And what that does is it really personalizes and creates a connection with those LinkedIn leads. Meaning, I reach out to 200 people today, maybe 20 say, yeah, I'm interested in that topic. Send over your free resource. What we do is, of those 20 people, the ones that read the ebook and read a 3,000 word ebook about you and your story and photos of you and your journey and your life, along with you demonstrating expertise, educating them about this topic, sharing examples, sharing strategies, sharing stories where they go, oh, that makes sense. I love that. That's exciting. I want to learn more. Now there's this personal connection. And then the person says, yeah, that was great. That really resonated. I'd love to learn more. And I want to talk to you specifically, as opposed to I filled out a generic form online saying I'm interested in exploring this topic, and 17 different random people contacted me. I don't know any of them. I don't know what makes them unique, different, or better. I don't know if they're relatable to me. I don't know if I would get along with them. I don't know what their personalities are like. I don't know what their communication styles are like. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable with them, if they're the kind of person I could have a beer with or talk about my kids with, or if we have the same passions outside of work. Again, the ebook does all that. That's why I love content. Content is the currency that not only helps you buy the time, interest, and attention of a prospect with the tips you share, but if you do the content the right way, whether it's an ebook or webinar or whatever, they get to know, like, and trust you. Just like you're listening to my voice right now. If you read my books, if you watch my videos, if you go through my content, I tell personal stories, I share insights, I share examples. You feel more comfortable when you talk to me live about LinkedIn lead generation, because you know my story, you know my journey, you know where I've been, you know my personality, I'm a goofball, right? All these things, so that there's a connection to it. And that was the big takeaway for me on this call was, this person was so frustrated with all these different vendors and lead sources and data scraping and names and lists and portals and blah, blah, blah. But nobody had a connection to this person. Nobody was like, oh yeah, I know who you are. I read your book. It was awesome. I really liked your story, and I love that you built your life around your kids and blah, blah, blah. And I love that you love sailing. I do too. None of that. So it was so hard for this person to get any rapport, to get any common ground, to get a connection. And the other thing I told this person on the call that's so true is people need a narrative to attach to you. Like, the biggest sin in marketing is to be boring, is to be like everyone else, is to be non-memorable, right? Then you just blend in with every other vendor offering your service, as opposed to if you do a good job telling your story through an ebook, a podcast, a webinar, now they have a narrative to remember you by. Not only do you provide the same service as these other people, but you also have a story that they can relate to and they can remember you by. So, for example, if you followed me for any amount of time, right, I'm a goofball. You know that I love the 1980s. I'm a walking fashion nightmare, right? I'm constantly sharing photos of all my fashion faux pas. My wife literally yesterday was like, why are you wearing that t-shirt? You need to throw it out. It has oil stains on it. You can't wear that in public. What are you doing? Why are you wearing tube socks up to your knees? It's 2024, almost 2025. You can't be out in public like this. What is wrong with you, right? So, and again, my wife proves every day love is blind because she's still with me. And again, I'm a goofball. I own it. I love it. I've been, termed a walking dad joke, and it's absolutely true, right? I'm just a total goofball, self-deprecating, funny. I don't take myself seriously, right? All these different things. But also, I'm really, really good at LinkedIn lead generation. I've written 8 books. I've been featured in the New York Times. I have all these clients that have done 6 and 7 figures in sales from the leads that we provide on LinkedIn. So, people follow me for LinkedIn tips and all that. but one can't go without the other. And that's really the key kind of inflection point with lead generation is it's not just enough if you're doing free content, and even to back up, a lot of people aren't even doing free content. They're just spamming leads from LinkedIn. I got your information. I heard you might be interested in this topic. Let's talk. Right. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, huh? Like they're not even doing the free content. And then some people are doing free content, but they're only sharing like tips, right? They're only sharing like strategies or steps. They're not sharing any of their personality, any of their story, any of their hero's journey. They're not sharing anything authentic and transparent that would make you approachable, fun, friendly, whatever it is that your personality is, right? That's the missing pieces. And that's why I said to this person, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality of these leads. Well, how do you get quality leads without having to talk to thousands of people a day and tell your story over and over again and build rapport? You can do it at scale with content. Like that's the big thing is I don't want to talk to someone live, and I don't want to have you as my client talk to someone live unless they've kind of been, as my business coach says, indoctrinated to your brand. Meaning they've read a 3,000 word book about you or longer. They've watched videos. They've listened to podcasts. They've read messages. They've seen status updates where, by the way, not only have you demonstrated expertise, but you've also shared something about your life, your kids, your passions, your families. And again, how do you do that? The formula I give for that type of content that works really well is personal story plus a business lesson equals the content. So again, it's not this, black or white, either or. It's not just you sharing a bunch of personal information and hoping people sign up with you. It's you sharing personal stories that are related to key business concepts of what you do that help people go, oh, not only is that a memorable story where I get to know, like, and trust you better, there's actually business advice or insight there as well. And even if you don't do it with yourself, you can do it with your clients, right? Through case studies or testimonials. When I first met Sally, here was her situation. And here's my formula for case studies. If you want that, really simple, what it was like, right? When the person came to me, here's what their situation was like. What happened? Part 2, here's what I did. What it's like now, like here's the outcome, the positive things that happened. So what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now, that's a simple case study that you can use for yourself or for your clients of here's how I help this person. And you do it as a story, right? Stories sell. Stories are how people remember you. It's how we're wired. It's how we're encoded. It's why we love movies. It's why we love social media. It's why we cry at certain TV shows. That's why we get hooked on stories. We're just story junkies. We can never not get enough good stories. And so again, what was great about this call was the person was so frustrated and so upset. I'm spending $5,000 to $7,000 a month. I have all these leads. None of them are good. None of them are turning into paying clients. And the other thing was interesting. I have to do so much work to warm them up. Not only do I have to do all the chasing just to get them on the phone or on Zoom, but then I have to build a relationship and build rapport and get them to know, like, and trust me. And it's so hard. And I have to do it over and over and over again, one at a time. I was like, oh, or you can just have a perfectly kind of packaged ebook that has photos of you, your story, your journey, your family, all the things that you're passionate about, plus business lessons on this topic that help the other person see how you could help them get what they want or solve a key problem they have. And they're like, yeah, it's like, okay. And so the reason the call didn't close was what was also really interesting. And this is another sales lesson is the person first just gave me all the standard objections. I have a lot going on. I have to think about it. I have to mull it over. I have all these different things. If a deal closes, then I'll feel more confident to sign up, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, and again, this is only coming to me after doing thousands of calls. And it really does take a level of leverage in your mind to not be scared, right? The old me would have been like, absolutely, take all the time you want. I will diligently follow up with you when the timing is right. One of the other things the person threw out, well, I'm going on vacation. I want to make decisions before I leave town. And I'm sitting here going, well, why did you book a call with me then? Like, if you're not ready to take action. And so I used to kind of just let people off the hook that way. And I would get the false hope. And what I've learned in doing thousands of sales calls and reading books like Never Split the Difference from Chris Voss and other things about negotiation is that's never the real objection, right? The real objection for me that I've seen is almost always emotional and has to do with the other person and how they're feeling. Emotion is everything. So what it really came down to, and where I was able to get with this person through, I use a lot of humor to do it, right? And self-deprecation and, picking up threads of the story that they told me. And I basically was like, well, listen, like, help me understand, because you're already spending $5,000 to $7,000 a month on these other lead sources, several of them. So none of those are like, what results are you getting? And they're like 0. So I'm like, okay, so you're not getting any results. And you've told me on this call, you feel like my approach is completely different and it would work like crazy, right? It would work great. Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. I said, okay. It's really validating for me to hear that. And I agree with you. I said, so, let's be honest, like, what's going to change? Like, and he's like, yeah, the insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. I know I need to change, but I also blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, well, the reality is like, you could sign up with me today, right? And here's my pricing. And you could do this. I was like, you could put it on a credit card and I'll work with you and work with payment plans and let you, blah, blah, blah. Like I'll invest in you. And they said, oh, no, I would never do that. I said, what? Like, okay. And so that's outside my comfort zone. I never want to have credit card debt. And again, that's not about me. It's about that person saying, because the person even went on, well, I've had a lot of debt in my life and I made myself a promise I'll never go into credit card debt again and I won't carry credit card debt. And if I can't pay it off, I'm not going to buy it. Oh, okay. Well, now you're running into that person's own trust issues with themselves, right? Because again, you can't force a person outside their comfort zone with money. So to that person, what they were basically saying to me was, I got all these other things I'm spending money on. None of them are working. But I'm going to, I'm tied up with those and I haven't closed any sales. But if I get an influx of cash, then I would feel really good working with you. And it's, of course, the chicken and egg thing of like, well, the reality is you wouldn't be calling me if you're already spending $5,000 to $7,000 a month and these other lead sources were working. Like you wouldn't have a problem, right? And if you're never going to feel comfortable stepping outside your comfort zone to invest in a new service, where if you don't have the cash to immediately pay me the exact amount, you're not going to move forward. Well, then we probably can't do this, right? Because, you got to figure out what you want to do with your finances there. And I can't be your, I'm not going to like bully you into it. And it was interesting because the other thing too, I said to the person and they agreed with was, you don't trust yourself. I mean, I said it in a nicer way. I always say it like this, like, I said, I'm trying to crawl into your head and figure out how I'd be thinking if I was you. I said, if I was you, outside looking in, I would probably be doubting myself a little bit. I'd say, I'm spending $5,000 to $7,000 a month. I'm using these 6 different sources. It hasn't worked. It's not working. Do I really want to invest in another lead source? And this guy, Nemo, costs more than the other ones. And what if that doesn't work? And am I going to be in the same boat with just more, debt piled up? And they're like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, okay. So it's really not about me at this point. It's about you not trusting yourself to make a good decision. And so that's where then I say, and tried to say to this person, like, and I believe this, like, I'm like, you're a winner. Like you would do really well with me. And I also pulled out this analogy because in that specific niche, I said, my best client in your niche has done $452,000 in sales in the last 6 months from leads that we have provided. My worst client in the exact same niche has done 0. And I said, do you want to know the difference between those 2 clients who are in the exact same niche? One made $452,000, one made 0 in 6 months. And they're like, yeah, what's the difference? And I said, nothing. I said, it's the same leads. It's the same strategy. It's the same content. I personally wrote it all. They both got the same amount of calls. They're both getting the same types of leads. So the difference is one is really good at closing business and the other one isn't. And it was like, oh, okay. And that's where you have to kind of put it back on the prospect to be like, you have to have that leverage too to say like, this is marketing, right? I can't guarantee anything for you, right? And what's your mindset? What's your talent level? What's your ability to close deals? And so it's just fascinating because I think really there's so much nuance to all of this when you do talk to a prospect. But if you listen carefully, there's always lessons. So even in this case, the person didn't move forward. It wasn't a win in the sense of I got a new client and money in the door, but it was a win in the sense of, wow, that really validated the approach that we take to lead generation, where we create that personal connection through content, and that leads to context for a conversation, which then makes it much easier for our client to close the leads. That was very validating versus what, quote unquote, everyone else does with lead generation suppliers, where it's just a name, data, but they have no personal connection to you. They just are on a list or they fill out a form and now their name got sold. Big difference there. And then the other thing is just, of course, the sales lessons. They're endless if you listen. And really understanding, like, it's hard. Like, it's hard to have the confidence and not feel like a jerk to kind of push back at people and kind of poke and prod and probe. You know, I could have easily let the guy off the call and, you know, oh yeah, take your time, enjoy your vacation. Let's circle up when you get back. But I was like, the reality is no, like it's going to waste my time and his time. If you're not a heck yes. The other thing the person said, which I laughed at, was, well, I really need to understand your process better. I really understand what I'm getting into with you. And I'm like, I laugh because I'm like, but you already watched a 10-minute video that laid out every step of the process. You read a book on the process, and I've just spent an hour with you talking about the process. I said, that's not it. Like, it's not education, right? I said, it's really about you feeling comfortable. And they're like, yeah, that's what it is. And so, okay, you know, at the end of the day, I can't change that inside that person, and nor can you. But I think it should help you feel better. I know it helps me feel better that when a call doesn't close, it's, you know, if you know what the real issue is, you can let it go faster, right? And you don't second guess yourself and what, did I do something wrong? It's like, no, at the end of the day, if that person's like, I have these rules with myself about how I spend money or how I budget, and I won't ever break them no matter what are you going to do about it, right? You can't force them. They have to want it more. All you can do is, if you believe in them, imbue them with confidence and say, and as I said to this person was, well, the reality is, if you're as good as I think you are, and as you say you are, if you made one sale in 6 months, you would like double your investment with me. And I'm going to reach out to about 50,000 prospects for you and do all my magic stuff. And the average client gets this many calls a week in this niche. If you close one of those in 6 months, you're good. And they were like, yeah, but, and I'm like, okay. So the mindset, you know, like, okay, that's fine. Like, you know, the thing is, I just felt empathy, because I'm like, I don't want to see you keep spending $5 to $7 grand a month on stuff that's not working. Like, why would you keep doing that? I wouldn't do that, right? Like, none of us would, but it takes what it takes. So with all that said, thanks for listening. I found this helpful to process, so I hope you did too. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you soon on another episode.